and welcome to Mission Impossible. I am Rebecca and I hope you are well. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. I know I did. And I know that you guys probably are ready for the new year. And I'm hoping that this is the time where you reflect before you get into the new year. We've got a few more days before the new year starts. So if you're thinking about doing a vision board or a promise board, whatever it is, I want to give you this message. Now, the message Mission Impossible. So I don't know if you ever watched Mission Impossible, the movie, the franchise. Actually, I just recently realized or learned that it was a TV show before it was a movie, but that's another story for another day. So if you have never watched it, I don't know where you've been living, but Mission Impossible is about a man called Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke is a high ranking agent and he's with a task force called Impossible Mission, something along the lines of that. And they basically go on very dangerous, high risk tasks and they take down the opposite side that are trying to do evil in their country. And it's a fictional task team. And I've always watched it, and I've always, one of the things that used to stand out to me is part of the mission. It became something so big in the movie franchise where every time they go on a mission, they have to take on someone's identity. So they all, to the point where they even have these realistic face masks that they pull off at the end. You know what I'm talking about? They have the voice box that change into that person, their fingerprints, all these things. They really embody this person so that they can get through and have access into the building, to the systems, whatever it is he has to do to get there, to retrieve or to stop whatever that's happening so that they can complete this mission. And it has me thinking about the new year that's about to that is approaching. And I started thinking about the things that God has called us to do. Now, before I go forward, I'm just reminded of something that the Lord was speaking to me in my quiet time. And now, I don't know if you've heard of the term sleeper agent, right? A sleeper agent. There was this TV show, as you can see, there's like a theme here with movies and TVs, okay? And there was a TV show called The Americans. And basically it was like these two couples who had children and they lived in America for years. It's set in the 60s. And they have been, when you see them, they seem like a normal couple, a normal happy marriage. But when you have a deep dive into their lives, they actually are two strangers. In fact, they are agents who are sent by their company to live in America. They have become married, they have children, and in this season, they are known as sleepers. So they're not really on mission. They just have to live in this country, in America. They have to learn the system. They have to act normal. They have to have children. They got married. They presented themselves as a normal couple. They got jobs. They lived a normal lives. But they had to wait till one day when someone in their team will come and go, give them a secret code and says, hey, it's time. Now they've woken up to do their mission. And I'm thinking, why am I thinking about sleeper agents? But I truly believe that many of us are placed in jobs or in positions, or next year are about to be placed in positions, into jobs, into fields that feel so foreign to you. Like, why am I here? I don't understand. God, I don't understand why you brought me here. I don't understand it. But I truly believe that God has put you there to become a sleeping agent. If you don't know now, but we are all a part of God's kingdom. We are here to do his mission, to fulfill his plans on this earth. Each one of us have been called to do something, called to a mission, called for something in this life while we're on this earth. I don't know what it is that God's called you to do, but I do know that he's called me to do things. And I do believe that in this season, while we are in a field that feels so foreign, this is a chance for maybe God's telling you to learn, to watch. I think about the spies in the Bible, the spies that it was Joshua and Caleb, and there was 12 of them. They were sent into the promised land to just see what's going on. And they were there for 40 days. For 40 days, spying and hiding and figuring out what was going on. And their job was to come back with goodies or reports of what it was like. Now, 10 of them was like, oh, hell no, we're not going there. And 2 of them was like, we've got this. So I truly believe that wherever you are, I don't know why I brought this up again, but God has truly has placed you there so that you can actually see what's in the land, to see what's going on, because we are called to be. I truly believe that we're called to be God's eyes and ears for things. We're placed in that job for a reason. We're placed in this position to see. And I think about the story of Esther. Esther was a young girl who was actually taken from her original homeland, like many other Jewish people, into the land of Persia. They were living there. And she was minding her business. She had her mom and dad passed away, being raised by her uncle, her cousin. And then one day, the king, you all know the story, the king called for all the beautiful women in the land of Persia to come. She becomes queen. So she's thinking, it's a regular day. I'm the queen. I'm here. I've gone through. I'm living my life. But not realizing she was in this position, not just to become queen, but she was there to be God's eyes and ears and actually help, in a position to help stop whatever was going to happen to her people. Now, as we are making our vision boards, some of us are making our vision boards and plans, and I truly believe before we rush into anything, before we rush into this new year with so much zeal and excitement, this is time for you to truly sit with God, truly sit with Him and ask Him, God, what is your mission for my life? Now, I wanted to go back to a story that I talk about a lot, actually. I've done events and I've actually brought this story up, and it's one of my favorite Bible story. It's the story of Gideon. Gideon was a young man whose his people were in hiding, right? And where we meet Gideon, he is in a wheat threshing hole, and he's basically hidden. He's hiding himself, trying to provide food for his family. Definitely read the stories in Judges 6. And in this time, as he's hiding, and he's probably thinking, God, why am I here? Why are we hiding? Yes, we've sinned against you, God, but this is just a lot. Who's going to rescue us? The angel of the Lord is sitting watching Gideon, thinking, knowing exactly what he's thinking, knowing exactly how he's feeling, but also knowing exactly what Gideon is going to do, and knowing exactly what God has called him to do. And in that moment, the angel of the Lord calls out to him. He says, mighty man of valor, the Lord is with you. And Gideon goes like, if the Lord is with us, why on earth are we living like this, right? And in that moment, I don't think Gideon even realized that the Lord has called him such a name that it went against everything that he was standing for. Gideon's hiding. It doesn't seem like a mighty man in that moment, right? But God knows the end. So many of us, right, are called to do great things. And some of the things may be bigger than we ever thought or imagined. Bigger than the things that the words that people have spoken over us over these years. Whether it's people called you stupid, people called you, you would never amount to anything, the actions and mistakes in our lives. But God has called us to do greater things. I truly believe that there is a version of us that only God knows. Only God knows. And I don't know if you ever find yourself and I can speak for myself, having these visions or God's telling you these things that doesn't match the person that you know yourself to be. Like, it doesn't match. It doesn't make sense. I never even thought that, but God has called you to be this. For example, I think about when I started my charitable organization called Refresh Kits. Never in a million years did I believe that I will start an organization. That I never even thought about that. I did know that God has always called me to work with young people, young teenagers, but or to be some sort of figure to young people, but I never knew it was in that field. I am the least qualified person, I kid you not, in this field. But I realized that because how I view myself, or how life has, or in the words of other people, I view myself in that way. But before I was born, before I was placed in my mother's womb, the Lord knew me. And it's the same for you. Now, God has called you to do missions this year, guys. Or say next year, guys. He's called you to great things, not just next year, but in your lifetime. But before we run with zeal into doing it, we must sit and ask God, who am I? Who did you call me to be? Who did you create me to be? Who are you called me to be? Because in knowing who God has created you to be, in knowing your identity, that's where you know your mission. I hear people talk about purpose and what am I calling? What am I here for? And it's true, we all want to know what our calling is. But one of the things that we are here to do, really, is to love God and love His people. Now, that just may be in different forms, but that's what we're called here to do. So before we run and try to figure out our own purpose, find out who God created us to be. So before we start the new year, before we create those vision boards, maybe you've already had already, before we sit down and start planning and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, let's sit with the Lord and ask Him, God, who have you created me to be? What is it that you want in my life? How do you want me to turn up in this place? If you called me here, what is it you want me to learn? And also read from other people. So I hope you enjoyed this message, guys. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.